Okay, welcome everybody. Erev Tov, and welcome to a special midsummer edition of the Rabbi Seminar on spirituality at the seashore. And really, I know I'm preaching to the choir here about spirituality at the seashore. And in fact, one of the lessons I'm teaching tonight is one that I taught at one of my pre-auditions for the search committee. Because I picked it because it had to do with sand and the seashore. So hopefully this will be a really special one for us. And as I mentioned earlier, I was hoping to have a guest. I'm not sure if he can make it from the organization called Tikkun Hayam, but I will be sharing about that near the end of the program. So tonight we're going to look at, in a kind of multimedia presentation as always, we'll look at the beauty of the seashore and the spirituality of the seashore and how we can care for this vital, our vital ocean home that we live on the very shores of. And overall, I'm very privileged to do any of these classes about what I call your inner landscape, because I truly believe that the earth is our real holy temple. It is our Garden of Eden, the dwelling place of the divine, and that we're all part of nature. And our own tradition, our Jewish tradition, is full of nature-based wisdom and powerful symbols from nature, and as do other cultures that we can learn from, including indigenous ones. I believe that rather than scaring people into wanting to care for the environment, that it's best to foster awe and love of our environment so that we get a sense of humility of our own place in it, which if developed can lead us to caring of others and caring for the environment. And when I talk about our inner landscape, it's because I think that symbolically within each of us, we have our own landscape that corresponds to the outer landscape. For example, we have our peaks, peak experiences. We have our lows, our valleys. We have our states of flow. We have our dry and arid times of the desert, etc. And so that's partly what led me to start my website, Well Springs of Wisdom, my personal website. I don't have that much time to work on it right now, but it's there, and I occasionally add to it, because I just find Jewish symbols and wisdom fascinating. As you know, I love nature and nature photography, and it's a joy to be here near the ocean. So let me start by sharing with you some of my slides. Hopefully this will work. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, can you all see that? The GPS for your inner landscape. And I have some of my own photos. So that is one of my own photos. Of course, that is sunrise on the Delaware Bay in Lewis. And I like to start with a blessing for the study of Torah. So if you like, you can join me in it, or you can just say amen or just listen, which is the end of the blessing, la'asok b'divrei Torah. It's to occupy ourselves with words of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. You made us holy with your mitzvot, and you bid us to engage ourselves with the words of Torah. So I'd like to start, if it's okay with you, with this song that I think a lot of you know from synagogue, right? Ilu finu malei shira kayam. I actually reached out to the composer Linda Hirschhorn, because when I did this I did the same class with the Aleph Alliance for Jewish Renewal, and I said, is it okay? I'm doing your song and it's gonna be recorded. And she's like, I love it if people share my song. I'm so happy. We often do it on Shabbat service. So the words are Ilu finu malei shira kayam, which is like, if our mouths were filled with a song as the waves of the sea, we couldn't praise God enough. But the English here is, let us have songs to fill our mouths as full as the sea. And I like to say, to fill our heart as full as the sea, if you want. And there in the background again, sunset on the Delaware. That's a sunset on the Delaware Bay. So if you'd like, while on mute though, you could sing along with me. I'll start with the melody and then add the words. La 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 lie, 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 lie. Ilufinu male shira kayam. Ilufinu male shira kayam. Ilu kayam, ilu kayam. Let us have songs to fill our mouths as full as the sea. Let us have songs to fill our hearts as full as the sea. Full as the sea, full as the sea. La 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 la. La 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 la. Full as the sea, full as the sea. And here, we won't keep these slides going all the time, but we'll take breaks from them. But this is another bracha, which is a bracha for seeing the ocean. So I wonder if anyone's familiar with the idea that there is actually a bracha that you say when you see the ocean. And of course, since our sages like to quantify everything, they were like, well, if you haven't seen the ocean for 30 days, then you say it. Now, for us, that doesn't really apply. We're seeing it hopefully a lot more than that. But so I like to just say it when I move to say it, you know, being kind of flexodox. Okay. So here's the blessing for this, for saying, the blessing for seeing the ocean. I'd like to teach it to you. There's two different versions you can use. One is just the same one you use, like when you see the Grand Canyon or you see any wonder of nature, something spectacular, or even lightning in the sky. You say, Oseh ma'aseh bereshit, blessed is God who makes the wonders of creation. Blessed is the life force of all the world. So if you'd like to say that with me, and we're looking at a picture here of from Herring Point, sunrise at Herring Point with the pelicans. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, oseh, ma'aseh v'reshit. And blessed are you, Yah, the breath of life, our God, the cosmic majesty, always creating the world every day. And then there's a special one dedicated to the sea itself. If you want to get really specific, Sha'asa et hayam hagadol, God made the great sea, like that. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Sha'asa et hayam hagadol. Blessed is God who made the great sea. And you can even combine them together. God, you made creation, you made the sea. Or just, as my friend and colleague, Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt says, you can just go, holy wow. Right? Okay. And then, so now I'd like to start with, to get us in the mood, a little bit of a morning at Herring Point when there is at sunrise at Herring Point. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Hopefully you will hear the sound. I did ask it to share the sound. I just love how the light, you know, the sun's rays are lighting up the reflections on the water. I don't know, anybody here a sunrise person who goes to see the sunrise? I have to admit, this year I've been terrible at it because I haven't been sleeping as well, but some people, Jackie, anybody a sunset on the bay person? You like the sunset on the bay? It's easier. I did have a couple that came to me and said they would like to have a sunrise wedding in July on the Atlantic. And I looked it up, it was 5 in the morning or something, or June. And I said, you know, sunset is really beautiful at the bay. All right. So we'll proceed. That's to get people in the mood of the ocean. Okay. So we really live on an ocean planet, and there's again sunrise in Lewis. Would somebody like to read about our ocean environment, how much of our planet really is made of ocean? Somebody want to volunteer, and Enid's going to call on people to read. So you can raise your electronic or actual hand and she'll call you.
Okay, George Beckerman, unmute yourself.
I think I am unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
good, you're unmuted.
All right. The ocean planet. Over 70% of our globe is covered with great oceans, which can even be described as one world ocean. Oceans and seas are vital to life on our planet, containing 97% of our water, half of our oxygen, and absorbing much of the carbon dioxide from our atmosphere to slow down global warming. The ocean is full of mystery. About 25% of the ocean floor has been mapped, but only 5% has been seen by humans. The deepest part of the ocean are much deeper than the height of the Himalayas. Scientists estimate that only about a third of ocean creatures are known to us. There may be hundreds of thousands to be discovered. We are connected to the ocean. Over half the world's people live in a coastal zone, and over 140 million tons of food from the ocean are part of global diets. But the ocean is not limitless. Pollution, overfishing, global warming, and the destruction of fragile habitats continue to threaten this cradle of our global life. Can you share any more awesome ocean facts?
Yes, I want to turn it over to you, Herman. Thank you, George. I know we have people right here in Lewis at the University of Delaware, including among our own congregants, who studying all about the creatures in the ocean. But I wonder if there's something that particularly fascinates you that you've learned since living here, or learned about the ocean that you want to share. Anybody? Because I just gave you all of this stuff I know. No, I'm always trying to learn more. I think it's fascinating. Anybody? Okay. Well, that's just to set, what I think is, I'm not only in awe about the beauty of the ocean, the spirituality of the ocean, but also when we contemplate how vast it is and how little of it we really know. Like, we know, they say, more about some things in outer space than we know about what's at the bottom of the ocean. And yet there was a sense that it's limitless and we can just take as much as we want. We can put as much as we want. And now the people that are ocean environmentalists and oceanographers say, well, obviously that is not true. We are having a very bad impact on a lot of things in the ocean. But there are, of course, people that are out there doing things for conservation. Carol, were you going to say something, or were you just, okay. Okay, David, do you want to share something?
Maybe some of you saw this on 60 Minutes, but one thing that I found rather peculiar is that the oceans are controlled by an international law of the seas. It controls everything from fishing rights to to the ability to harvest various things that there. Most countries, most of the developed countries in the world are signatories to this Law of the Seas treaty. The United States, interestingly, is not.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I really am interested in learning about how citizens can help the ocean. We'll come back to that later. But if you have young people in your family, like grandkids or nieces and nephews, who want to share this book, it's called Good News Planet Earth by Sam Bentley. And he shares a lot of facts about things that people are doing to help the ocean and other environmental needs of the planet, and how we could get involved. So that's one thing you might be interested in. Okay, so going back though to the spirituality of the ocean. Oh, once again, I've got a little video for you. There's a little seagull there, so it was very pretty. If you don't get up for this sunrise, at least you can see my view of it there. So would somebody like to read this about life at the beach? Because this is the life we live here.
Yeah,
So,
Carol Dash. You've got to unmute.
Yes.
Okay.
Life at the beach. Basking in the sun and gazing at the waves, swimming and floating in the salt water, a seaside retreat is a timeless way to promote calm and healing. The salty air is rich in oxygen and negative ions in the surf. The rhythm of the waves mesmerizes, and a walk on the edge of the vast sea can offer perspective on worries or stresses. On a spiritual level, the depth, power, and mystery of the ocean evoke our awe and open us to a state of wonder more readily than almost anywhere else on earth. Discuss. What do you find restorative and or spiritual living by the beach?
That's especially for our group, because when I did this same program with Olive, I did kind of a little meditation on the beach to get them to feel like they were at the beach, but we all get to live at the beach. So I would like to hear from you. What do you find that's restorative to you? When do you go to the beach besides for recreation or fun? Is it that all, or do you go there for any kind of spiritual comfort or calm or meditation? There's no right or wrong, but I'm just curious. So anyone want to tell?
Yes.
Okay.
I agree with Carol.
Yes. And what is it about it? How does it do that for you?
The sound of the water, the constant movement of the waves, the sound of the birds that you could hear when you're there, and just the idea of the movement, the in and out of the waves is very meditative.
I'm raising my eyebrows because our cantor for the high holidays is going to use the song Ratza Vashov, which is a phrase from the book of Ezekiel, which means it's like coming in and going out. That's the kind of spiritual rhythm of life. Things ebb and flow, I guess. And when you said it, it evoked that for me. I also, when I saw our let's say a family member, I don't want to, since this is being recorded, who was expecting a baby, it was going in the ocean. And I thought about, wow, it's like the baby's in their own tiny little ocean, right? And then she's in the big bay. And I thought about how maybe when we're in the water, we get that sense of being rocked in the womb, really. That's warm and they're, salt water, right? And that could be very calming. And I also heard about the birds, that why do birds song? One of the reasons bird song calms us, besides the fact that it's very beautiful, is that when birds, if there's a predator around, the birds suddenly get quiet. So there's a sense of danger and alertness. And when you hear birds singing, things are calm. And we subconsciously, like our minds know that from our days back on the savannah. Yeah, so that's interesting too. Carol Newman, did you want to share something? But you unmute yourself and tell us.
Yeah, we're at my mother's condo and on the west coast of Florida, so that we get the Gulf of Mexico. But I consider that like the ocean, except it's a little more calm. And there's something about, just for me, watching the sunset. I have a million pictures of before the sunset, during and after the sunset. To me, it's extremely spiritual to just be there and to be able to watch it. And then there's something about the heat, the sun, which gives you a special feeling, and watching the birds. And we can watch the pelicans kind of going down, and they swoop down and they'll manage to get a fish and then rise up again. And that's very exciting to watch, as well as the porpoises, if you're lucky enough to have a grouping of those.
I have down on the beach, we saw dolphins, right?
Yeah.
George, yes?
I'm wondering if you could go back to that last slide that you were showing.
Yes. Okay, just a minute. We're going to go ahead to some texts in a moment. The one before that?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
So do you see right in front of the bird?
Yes.
There is a visible line there.
Yeah. Yes.
Of course, it's water. It's the sun reflecting on the water. And, when I go down to the beach before sunrise, I go down to see that line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the water kisses the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that idea.
Well, we learned as I went to the mikveh with someone recently, and they told us that in the mikveh there's a pool that's the water's collected, natural rainwater, and it has to like in the pipe it kisses the water that they bring in from the from the faucet to create the mikveh. So there you go. Thank you. Okay, well, let's continue on here for the blessing of sand. So this is actually part of what I taught a few people from the congregation when I was doing a little sample Torah teaching. And if we were going to go into it in more depth, we'd read from the Torah in Genesis 22, how something that we read actually on the second day of Rosh Hashanah traditionally, that Abraham is ordered to bind Isaac on the altar and make him an offering, but the last minute, luckily, thank God, a ram comes out of the thicket and he sacrifices the ram instead of Isaac. But God says, but now that I know that you would have done whatever I wanted, I'm going to bless your descendants. So would somebody, you don't have to read the Hebrew, but somebody want to read the English there for us? Okay, you have a volunteer there. Evie volunteered. Okay, you want to unmute and read?
I'm not muted.
No.
Okay, I will exceedingly bless you, and I will exceedingly multiply your descendants as the stars of the heaven and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And your descendants will overcome their enemies.
And then continue to the second line there.
Through your descendants shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have hearkened to my voice.
Okay. So you see that one of the blessings that God gives Abraham is, I will bless your descendants to be like the stars in the heaven. Well, stars, exalted light, right? But and like the grains of sand on the shore. Now you might just think that those are terms that just mean a lot. If you were out in a place without a lot of artificial light, you can't count all the stars in the sky, right? And you can't count all the grains of sand on the shore. So maybe it just means you'll have oodles of descendants. However, our sages said, not so fast. That's not all. So this Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin, Lithuanian commentator from the 19th century, said, this is not just a blessing of quantity alone, it's a blessing of quality, that you will be like stars, we are obviously stars, and you will be like sand. And so here's another one from King Solomon's wisdom is like the sand on the shore. God endowed Solomon with wisdom and discernment in great measure, with understanding as vast as the sands on the seashore. There's some of the marks left by the tide on the beach in Lewis, and discuss why. Isn't that a strange blessing? Why would it be a blessing? And Susan, I think you were at that teaching. Why? You know about sand. We all live with sand here at the shore. Our cars live with sand, etc. So why is it a blessing to be like sand? What do you think? Stars, obvious. But sand? Why?
Because there's a lot of it.
Okay, we did mention that. There's a big quantity and you want to have lots of descendants. But what about the quality of the sand? Is there any quality to sand that is really we want to have?
You can build castles.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
You can make things out of it. It's creative. It's changeable.
It absorbs the
Sand
heat
has
of the sun.
diversity like people have diversity. There's sand that's black, there's sand that's white, there's sand that's gold. It's diversity.
That's true. If you've been, I saw the black sand beaches in Hawaii, and there's pink sand beaches right in Bermuda. And in fact, there's a midrash like that when God made Adam, God took a little bit of the earth from all these different places, all the different colors, so everyone would be part of the first person. Any other thoughts about the quality of sand? Okay, go ahead and you can just unmute and share if you have something you want to say.
Sand is interesting because it can be very fragile.
Mm-hmm.
A sand structure can blow away, it could be washed away. But sand is also very strong because it's the building component for material that's very strong. And so there's fragility and there's strength to sand. But each grain, not per grain, but when you put it all together, you know, have a lot of it all together to have that strength.
And it does, they use sand, of course, to make concrete, right? So, which is now there's actually a sand shortage. It was like something that, oh, you'll never run out of sand, but they need to find more sand to make all the concrete, and people are trying to come up with different things to use instead of sand. David, were you going to say something? David Hirsch?
I was going to say something similar to what Susan said. Also, you make glass with sand as well. So
you can make something transparent, completely different. It's so
yeah,
beautiful.
wherever you have ocean, usually you're going to have sand. So it's omnipresent.
And computer chips.
And they have sand?
They don't call it Silicon Valley for nothing.
Wow. I'm learning. Okay. I didn't really think of that, of course.
And unlike the stars that stay where they are, the sand goes everywhere. You take it with you.
Right. I always take a lot of it with me in my car, in my shoes and everything. But I love that. These are great. I gotta, well, luckily we're recording this because every time I learn some new perspective on it. So a Jewish commentator, the Kli Yakar, Shlomo Lunshitz of 17th century Poland, said that we are like the stars when we shine in our times of greatness, but we are good like the sand because sand withstands enemies like the crashing and the breaking of the waves against the shore. The powerful waves come to the shore, but the soft sand breaks them. And so it's something that seems so vulnerable, but it's also powerful in a way, right? And it's soft and cushiony. I was thinking the other day of, as I tripped and fell on the sand, that I was like, oh, the sand is supporting me. The sand is like a soft place that catches you, and it's a safe place. So that's another thing that we can be. That we are, as Jews, we aspire to be like the stars, we aspire to the heavens and our ideals, but we're down to earth like the sand. And in another place it says to the earth itself that we should be like that. But let's continue a little more with the seashore. Okay. So life on the edge is the life of mystery. And this is from a teaching from Yo-Yo Ma, the great humanitarian and cellist. I got to hear him at Chautauqua Institution. And I was also hearing another recorded lecture by him, and he said something on these lines. So would somebody like to read this?
Yo-Yo was a
Would somebody like to read Life on the Edge of Mystery for us?
I'll do it.
Okay.
The seashore, where land meets sea, is a liminal space, the edge of mystery, exploration, and adventure. Waves pound the sand, tides ebb and flow into pools. The shoreline is ever-changing and alive. Sunrises or sunsets at the shore are spectacularly beautiful. The edge, where environments intersect, has more life forms and new life forms, like the shore of the sea. We should continually go to the edge, encountering new ideas and back to our center in order to learn and grow.
And I thought that was really beautiful that Yo-Yo Ma said this is living on the edge is where creativity happens. And instead we see a lot in the world today kind of going into our shell. People going to their shell, almost like the animals in the seashell. We can go out to the edge and encounter something different, then that's where the new creative things happen. And maybe in our lives too, when we're kind of in this liminal space on the edge of something. So I just wondered if that evoked anything for anyone, if you felt yourself on the edge, or you've ever had the experience of living on the edge. I mean, I left that purposely kind of open-ended. I mean, I think, George, it fits you a lot because I know you've been on this edge between different religions, bringing together spirituality of different religions. And from there, something new and creative came about. I even think that, yes.
I like the idea of being just on the other side of the edge.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I get a little bit over the edge. Okay.
It's just an idea. I haven't been there yet, but it's an
all
idea.
right. I often think, from the security of the beach where I'm sitting there just picking up shells or people are playing, and then you just look out on the ocean and think of this vastness and this mystery. It's really a metaphor for life, right? We're often preoccupied with our little day-to-day things, and every now and then we get a glimpse of something so much bigger that makes us somehow feel small and yet feel part of the great, something much greater, right? Any other thoughts about on the edge, being on the edge? I hope you'll, okay, Susan?
I'm not quite sure if this is the edge you mean, but when you're standing on the edge of the beach, at the edge of the
Yes.
shore,
Yes.
you're actually, it's safe. You've got your footing,
Yes.
you're safe. But if you go in, I mean, you could be in peril, you could be in danger. It's sort of a scary thing. You could get caught up in the waves, you can get caught up in a riptide, you can, so on the edge, it's, I don't know, I was just thinking, it's just sort of your safe space, and the depths are the scary space.
I like that. A little bit of trivia. I stand ready to be corrected if I'm wrong.
Okay.
But there's another edge when we're on the beach looking out of the ocean, and that edge is on the horizon. And so we've got these two edges there, but this tidbit that I have is really a reflection on awe, on the size of the ocean. That horizon, when we're standing on the beach, that horizon is about 7 miles away. And we see this vast thing in front of us, but it's only 7 miles given the size of the planet. And just thinking what's on the other side of that. I'm not a flat earth guy, so I know it's right. But,
I think that we're around Portugal. It's like right across the ocean from us. But if anyone wants to check it, you'll check it, right?
I'll check.
Yeah, okay. David Hersher says yes, so he must know. So I thought it was very interesting, Susan. I like watch what you said because I'm watching the surfing in the Olympics, and how a lot of the people that are surfers, and when they talk to them, they say, I feel so, in a sense, they feel the vast power of the ocean so much stronger than they are, and yet they feel the power within themselves. And that's a very kind of a spiritual sense that the divine is so much bigger than us. But if we could, and we can't control the surf of life and the waves of life, but we can just like ride them and kind of get in touch with it. And it can be awesome and scary. You know, the Hebrew word for awe, yirah, is also a word for fear. It's kind of this, the ocean can be scary, right? Think of all the shipwrecks that happened here around Delaware, right? Carol.
Yeah, I was thinking of the sand as providing all the warmth. There's a pleasant, the sun, the sun warms the sand. And it's really, sometimes it's kind of pleasant just to kind of lie on the sand and feel the warmth of the sand. And young kids like to be covered up up to their head anyway in the sand. And that's really very,
like, I did a little meditation.
Lovely.
Yeah, I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
I was just saying how lovely it is when kids enjoy getting covered up and enjoy the warmth. And there is the sun giving warmth to the sand, which warms all of us. Thank
you. So let's go ahead and then look at some more in the way of text, maybe, about so in Jewish tradition, and I did not take this picture, and I don't know who took it, but I liked it because the story, we have stories in our tradition that are based on the ocean and the sea. And of course, the main first one is well, of course, we have the story of Noah and the ark. That's a scary story about the sea, very scary. But there's a survival. And then the splitting of the sea is a bit like a birth. So would anybody like to read this? A people born of the sea. From the book of Exodus. Okay. If not, I'm just going to read it myself. Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and Adonai caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night. So kind of a naturalistic depiction. And made the sea dry land, the waters were divided, and the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on the dry ground. The waters were a wall to them on their right and on their left. Now, before I continue, I just wonder if anybody's been in a place where there was such a dramatic tide that actually you do see dry land. And in fact, you can see that in Lewis by the fishing pier. you can see it gets really dry and then it rushes in really fast as the tide comes in. But has anybody been in a place yet, David?
Yeah, at the Bay of Fundy in New Brunswick. It's
You
it's
see
very
that?
dramatic.
The Fundy in New Brunswick.
Yeah. And Jeffrey, did you want to say something? No? Okay. I can't tell some of these people's hands. Yeah, we were in Vancouver Island and just walking around. You're walking around and there's all this starfish and everything's exposed on the, in the bed of the, I don't know if it's a channel or a bay. And then when it comes in, it's all covered. So that's really the way that the Torah depicts this miracle. It's a very naturalistic kind of miracle. And it also has a lot of imagery of birth. The water split, we walked to freedom, and a nation was born, reminiscent of the way we are all born from a maternal sea that rocked us in the womb. The waters part, the waters break, and we're born, and it's a miracle. We had come out of Mitzrayim, a narrow place, which is again kind of a birth image. So we're connected to the sea from our birth. I will share, actually, this is just a personal, beautiful memory that I had from Rosh Hanikra. Has anybody been to Rosh Hanikra? So, okay. I went on when I was first a young student back in college, and we went on a tour, and we were walking through, there's these beautiful caves. I'll have a picture of that in a minute. But after we went on this Rosh Hanikra, right, it's on the border near Lebanon. And at the end of the day, our guide brought us to a secluded spot by the Mediterranean. As the sun sank into the sea, we walked ankle deep in water along a narrow shelf of rock that hugged the stony shore for several kilometers. And at low tide, you could safely wade there. We held our shoes in our hands and waded barefoot, suffering a couple of jabs from the sharp rocks, but was still the closest thing to walking on water in the Holy Land. Or like the Israelites in the midst of the sea on dry land as they walked at the Exodus. The effect was mesmerizing. On one side, as the waves hit the cliffs on the shore, they sprang upwards in fountains of water in inlets of the rock shelf, and on the other, beyond a few feet of rocky shelf, the glowing sea stretched out, the Mediterranean Sea, toward the golden ball of sunset. The experience was otherworldly. We had left planet Earth behind. Where were we? Rather than a Hebrew prayer, a Navajo phrase from our family trips to New Mexico popped into my mind. Beauty all around me. I threw my arms skyward. Beauty all around me. Not my own photo here. But this is at Rosh Hanikra in Israel. And here, this leads me into thinking about how, in a more spiritual way now, looking at the sea and the water. As we'll actually, I'm going to come back to this one because Rosh Hanikra is in a cave by the sea, right? And this is a friend of mine took a picture. It's kind of like the Blue Grotto in Italy, again, right? Rabbi Joshua of Sakhanin said in the name of Rabbi Levi, to what should we compare the tent of meeting that Moses set up in the desert? To a cave on the seashore. When the tide rises and the sea floods the cave, the sea is not diminished. Thus, the tent of meeting was filled with a divine presence. Okay, so, and I'm not going to do breakout rooms right now, but I'm going to take you back to this. So we could think of our own consciousness if you want to get a little more into thinking about spirituality like as a matter of consciousness, that the godliness is not diminished by being felt in the here and now, in me and my body, in the presence of others, in the synagogue. We can feel God's presence, and yet that doesn't diminish the immensity of godliness that's in the world. So sometimes I think of my consciousness or soul as a drop of the divine sea, tiny and insignificant, and yet an inseparable part of the vastness. In other words, the drop of the sea is nothing compared to the ocean, to the sea or to the ocean, but it is in its essence ocean, and that's what we are. We are in our essence divine. We have Tselem Elohim, the image of God in us, or the drop of godliness in us. And sometimes I think of myself or my life like ocean, distinctive for a time, but destined to become part of the whole again and emerge in other forms. And sometimes I wonder if I'm like a fish who moves and lives in the sea, but can't see it as a separate thing. Maybe that's how I live and move within God. The prophet Isaiah had a vision of a peaceful time when God consciousness will suffuse the entire planet like the waters fill the sea. Lo yareu v'lo yashchitu b'chol ha'kodshi, ki mal'a haaretz de'at Adonai kamayim liyam mechasim. None shall hurt or destroy in my holy mountain, for the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of Adonai as water covers the sea. And here is again pictured sunrise in the Atlantic here. So I've offered you a couple of metaphors. We often think, oh God, is God like an old man in the sky? You're going to hear on high holidays, Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. We get these hoary images of old, and that's why a lot of people don't come back for a year, I think, because we're thinking of God still in childlike ways. But we could think of God as like the ocean, and we're a drop of the ocean, or God is the ocean, and our existence is a wave in the ocean, or godliness fills everything, but just like a fish swimming or a dolphin in the ocean, we're not even aware that that's what we're living and moving within. Or we can find godliness in different places, and yet the whole earth is filled with it. We're just like a cave by the sea. So I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute. I know now we're getting into the depths a little bit. But I wondered if anyone else, when you say, I find my spirituality by the seashore, have you ever found that it really forms something sort of your theology or your metaphors for God at any time? And would you like to share? Carol, Ash?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The vastness of the sea, the constant changing of the colors and the textures, the sounds, it all brings me to me experiencing God, my God, in nature, and that's where it is for me. When I am out in nature, I feel like I don't know how this sounds, but I feel like I'm filled with God when I'm out.
Like the cave,
Right.
by the edge, like they're at Rosh Hanikra. It's filled with the water. So you feel filled with that.
It's just overwhelming.
I even read that. I wish I could find this. I can't find it again, but I remember like a few years ago, I read a person who said, I'm an atheist. This was in the New York Times. She said, I'm really a believer, but during the pandemic, she was out swimming all the time in a bay or in the ocean, and she felt this sense of the vastness of it and her own smallness, but again, paradoxically, being part of it, like being a drop of that ocean, that you feel bigger and smaller at the same time, right? And that to her was the spirituality. Or like Einstein said, when I think in wonder and awe, in that sense, I'm a religious man. I'm not a believer or a theologian, right? So I think in that sense, we could all find that spirituality, whether you classify yourself as a traditionally religious person or not.
I found, this is past tense, I was a scuba diver for quite a while. And a portion from Isaiah that you just had up on the screen.
Yes.
The waters cover the sea. That's
yes.
kind of
what does that mean?
an interesting concept.
Yes.
But I've been under the water, underwater, and
right.
At nighttime, daytime, it is awesome. And we've all been talking about just looking at the ocean, not so much being in the ocean. And so I'm loving this this rabbi session here, because I grew up on the water's edge for much of my life, and then did the scuba diving, and now living here. And the word "awesome" is just indicative of I'd say God consciousness. Imam Akum told me that the phrase God consciousness in Arabic is daqwa.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like that one word, daqwa. And I wrote it on an card and taped it to a lamp in my bedroom.
Well, we're going to be going under the sea in our imagination anyway, and seeing also this Jewish organization that actually literally trains people to scuba dive. So we'll be going there momentarily along with Jonah. So let's go. That can segue us to where we're going next. So now we're going into the depths. We were on the edge, but now we're going to start where we felt so safe, as Susan said, but now we're going to dare to go a little deeper. But since it's in our imagination, we're still very safe. And from the beginning, so really the very beginning of the Torah, the very first lines, the very first verses of the Torah are about the depths of the ocean. In the beginning, God made heaven and earth, and the earth is unformed and void and chaotic. And there's choshech al pnei tehom, darkness is upon tehom, the depths. This deep, so something is existing there. And this ruach, the wind from God, sweeps over the water, the mayim, and then God says, let there be light. So this is the depths. So what is the tehom, the depths? That's what I'd like to explore with you next. And I'm going to take you on this. Well, Jonah, as you know, as we read on Yom Kippur, Jonah was swallowed by this whale, or for the literalists, a big fish. It says a big fish. And he went deep under the water, and he emerged ready to prophesy. So he had a very deep, deep experience. And I'm going to invite you to take this cetacean submarine into the depths and emerge like Jonah with a new perspective. And I found it really fascinating. By the way, I did not take this picture. Rashi, based on the Midrash, Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, says that the great fish that swallowed Jonah, its eyes were like two windows, and Jonah could see everything under the sea. So it was like his own submarine, and I just think that's the coolest Midrash ever, right? So I want to take you down into the depths, into the Tehom. Here is the moon rising over the Atlantic right here. And my teacher and colleague, Rabbi Jill Hammer, said that in ancient Judaism, there was an ancient cosmology of vertical, sorry for the typo there, vertical dimensions. There's heaven, Shemaim, earth below, Sheol, like the underworld, and Tehom, the deep, deep depths. Again, we live on the edge of mystery. We're often occupied with colorful shells and amusements on the shore, but occasionally we look toward the horizon or we imagine the depths. And now I would like to take you on a trip into the depths using your imagination. So if you'd like to take a meditative trip with me, you can do that. And if not, you can just listen to it just like a story if you want. Okay. So first I'll start by saying that scientists have classified the ocean into 5 main zones: the sunlight zone, the twilight zone, the midnight zone, the abyss, and even farther down, the trenches. As you descend through these zones of the ocean, the world becomes darker and colder. The water pressure becomes higher and the creatures become weirder. Let's take an imaginal journey. If you want, you can close your eyes or you can softly unfocus them. You can sit up straight, but not stiffly. Or whatever position you're in is fine. You can take a breath, letting it out with a sigh. Just tune into the breath, the neshima, the lifeline to soul, the neshama. So I'd like you to conjure in your imagination your favorite beach. Maybe it's right here. Maybe it's in Florida. Maybe it's in Cape Cod, Hawaii, wherever it might be in the Mediterranean and Israel. And evoke for yourself the sights, what you see, the sounds that you hear, the physical feelings on your body, that warmth of the sun, if it's a warm place, the weather and the scent in the air. And imagine just enjoying that for a moment, just being there at the beach. And now, imagine yourself walking out to a dock or a pier. And here, your boat awaits. your vessel of choice. It might be a sailboat. It might be a kayak. It might be a luxury yacht. You get to decide in your imagination. Here it comes. All aboard. Time to embark and feel the wind in your sails, or find yourself skimming over the surface of the waves, reminding ourselves that we call our own Torah, the sea of Torah that we can endlessly sail upon. And this shore and this surface, as you feel yourself freely sailing or kayaking or just floating along, you feel a freedom of action and a pull to explore. The shore and the surface of the ocean represent, in Jewish mysticism, the world of asiyah, the world of doing, of action. And you can ask yourself, where do I feel pulled to journey in this world of action? And now, get ready, because you are also a diver. You can dive into the water, and whatever your actual skills in the physical world, in this imaginal world, you are instantly able to function underwater any way you choose. If you're snorkeling, scuba diving, or maybe you've transformed into a cetacean who can traverse between the realm of air and the realm of water. I mean, you could even be a mermaid or a merman. It's your imaginal journey. So feel yourself moving around freely under the water with nothing to stop you. And this realm under the surface gets lots of sunlight, and it's full of warm plants, seaweed, and maybe if you're in a warm place, coral reefs with colorful fish or mammals. Explore here what you feel and what you can hear, even sounds carrying under the water. Explore what you've seen when you're scuba diving or snorkeling, or what you've seen on movies of people doing that. And this sunlight zone right under the water represents, in Jewish mysticism, the realm of Yetzirah, the realm of your emotions and your creativity. What is calling to you here? What wants to be created in your world? And now we're going to descend deeper into the water, into the twilight zone, which corresponds in that ancient Hebrew cosmology to Sheol, the underworld, the twilight zone. Farther than human beings can usually go, you enter the darker waters. How will you do that? Maybe you'll jump into Jonah's whale, who will give you a ride, and you'll have those great eyes to look through. Or maybe it's your yellow submarine that's happened along. And remembering with the whales, they can dive down to 2 or 3 meters and be underwater for an hour or 2 or more. You're in a dark realm of the twilight zone. And in this dark, lights are glowing. Jellyfish, sea cucumbers, glass octopi. This dark place, lit by so many lights, recalls Chokhmah, the sparks of insight, and the world of, for the Kabbalists, the mystics, Bria, the mind, the dark origin of the bright, sparking thoughts. On your imaginal journey, you're free and easy to travel here. What wonders do you see, and what insights are being sparked for you? And now the midnight zone and beyond, the deepest part of the ocean where no human is gone. But amazingly, sperm whales can dive well into this deep and dark place, even 10,000 feet or 3 kilometers below the surface, and use echolocation to hunt. Based on our tradition, today we can call this Tehom, the deepest depths, the unexplored mystery, the places of chaos that existed pre-creation and let loose during Noah's flood. Here In your inner landscape awaits your unconscious mind, your deepest soul, the dark mirror of Atzilut, the highest realms. I can't tell you what to find here, but you'll have to perhaps use something other than your surface senses to find it. You could board your Jonah's whale or use the power of imagination to explore, and I'll leave you a few moments to do so. And if what you find here is too intense, you can always go up to one of the higher regions of the sea. Now, so we don't get the spiritual bends, we will ascend, but stage by stage. Ascending in our imaginal journey to the twilight zone, dark, but with lights of insight sparkling. Ascending to the sunlight zone, more and more color, more and more light. It feels so alive to be back here. And now when you're ready, ascend to the surface and feel so grateful as you emerge into the warm air and sunlight. And when you're ready, you can board your craft. It's waiting for you. Bring it to shore and disembark, feeling that soft welcome of the ever welcoming sand greeting you. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back from your journey. Hope you found something interesting there. If you want, you can write anything in the, by the way, also in the chat, anything that comes to you that you're like, oh, I want to share that. You can feel free to do so. So that's usually when we talk in Kabbalah and mystical terms about the different realms, we talk about going up higher, higher, higher into the heavens, right? But there's an equal world that's in the depths. And instead of saying, oh, you're going low, oh, you know, it's like Jonah, it's also the depths. There's so much to explore, and people are usually afraid of it a little bit. But in our imagination, we can go there, right? So let's take you along a little bit to Tikkun Hayam. So I want to share now about Tikkun Hayam as we're getting towards the end of the program, some practical things we can do to help the ocean. But first, before we do that, of all the things we've learned about like the spirituality of the sea, was there something that stood out for you, or that you want to take with you, or that you thought of while we were learning some of these sources that you want to share? Carol?
Okay. I tend to be a person who doesn't want to get in the water.
Yeah.
But now I want to get in the water.
Okay. Well, that's good.
I want to be in the water. Whether I'll do it or not, I'll let you know. But
okay. I thought it was interesting. Again, I went to the mikveh, which we actually, it's so funny because we have this giant mikveh right by us, but we drove all the way to Philadelphia to go to an indoor mikveh, which, because that would be warm and heated, but the heater was broken. So it was actually as cold as the Delaware Bay. But this idea that the transformation happens by going in the water, and you can use the ocean or the bay as a mikveh. Of course, it doesn't usually have the privacy if you're really going to merge like the traditional way, which is in the nude, but you could immerse in a bathing suit or something. And I like to do that in a bathing suit and just do my own little immersion my own way. And in Israel, I used to take the dishes. I was in my Orthodox faith, so we would take the dishes to the Mediterranean and dip them in the ocean as a mikveh. And it's interesting that that is a place of transformation in Jewish halakha. So it's not only in Agadah and mysticism, but also in halakha that water is a place of transformation. Okay, so I'm going to share now about this organization, Tikkun Hayam. I'm sorry that the founder, Ed Rosenthal, couldn't join us, but I think he would come back and join us. I know he'd be happy to speak for us another time. And this organization, we know Tikkun Olam is repair the world. So this is Tikkun Hayam, repair the sea. Oh, I just want to make sure that I have as I'm sharing, that I can share the sound, because I'm going to show you a little video about it. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. This is something about the repair the sea.
We are Repair the Sea, Tikkun Hayam. Diving into ancient Hebrew texts and sacred seas, we accept and assume our responsibility to repair the damage done to the global aquatic environment. We see water as holy and humanity as the appointed stewards of our blue planet. We repair the sea through global cleanup initiatives, community education, coral restoration, debris removal dives, upcycled ritual object production, and product sourcing of affordable and biodegradable single-use dinnerware. We explore culture, history, religion, the environment, and science to learn more about humanity's connection to water and our responsibility as protectors of this blue planet. We help the Jewish community around the world and faith communities throughout North America live a more conscious, connected, sustainable, and impactful life. We are Tikkun Hayam. Join our mission to repair the sea.
Okay. So we are actually going to participate in one of Tikkun Hayam's biggest initiatives. Okay, by Hershers. It's called the reverse tashlich. We are going to still have the regular tashlich, but we will do reverse tashlich the week for the Sunday before Rosh Hashanah. Communities around the world, I think, and certainly around the country, do a cleanup of the beach, but with a sense that instead of throwing things into the water, we're going to clean up, and we're going to do it with a Jewish consciousness, Jewish rituals, a little bit of Jewish learning. So our religious school is going to take that over. That's going to be on the 29th at 9 in the morning, so not to interfere with the History Book Festival, but it will be mostly for the young families, but anyone will be welcome to join them. I think it's going to be at Cape Henlopen State Park, learn about cleaning the beach and having some of this rituals of reverse tashlich. And I hope we could do some other activities with Tikkun Hayam, because what could be more appropriate for Seaside Jewish community, right? I also, and they're based in Florida, by the way. I wanted to tell you about a book I started to read that's called, hold on, Blue Mind, the surprising science that about how being near the water. Sorry, I can't read my little, it's on my tiny Kindle on my phone here. So. The surprising science. Well, something about how being near the water is so healthy for you and your body and your emotions, mind, and spirit. And Ed Rosenthal, who founded Tikkun Hayam, knew the author of this book, Wallace Nichols. Apparently he recently passed away, so that's a great book, Blue Mind, if you want to take a look at that. So I think I have to sign off. Bye, Larry. We're just about finishing up now anyway. I just have kind of some bonuses for anybody that wants a little extra bonus. So we have okay, I'm trying to no. Okay, I had this song of, Gila Razel Raphael's song, Listen to the Waves as They Rock and Roll. I think we might do that as a sign-off song. But I just, as an extra bonus, I wanted to share some of my dolphin photos. So imagine if cetaceans not only could give Jonah a ride, but they could prophesy for themselves. And Rashi, the great commentator of the Middle Ages, apparently called dolphins B'nai Hayam, children of the sea, paralleling to the humans being called B'nai Adam, the children of Adam, or the children of the earth. And I've often thought about, with the great brains that dolphins have, their intelligence, their language, their social skills, what it would be like to have that kind of a mind, but no artifacts, no homes, no clothes, just living in the water and living between realms of heaven and earth. So I wanted to share with you a couple of my favorite dolphin, just a few dolphin PowerPoint here. Oh, nope. That was another little bonus here. I have something. Oh, okay. I want to show you the dolphins. Here they are. Okay. One moment. Thank you for your patience. I really appreciate it. Dolphin album. Hey, are you ready for some dolphins just for fun? There's only a few of them, don't worry. So these are some of my favorite dolphins, and everybody loves them, so I brought them. So here's some dolphins as seen right here in Lewis and Rehoboth. And there's a baby. Do you see the baby in the back of the pod? Here's two of them coming and spraying. Here's flipping over, and this is another baby, baby on board. And they're standing up in the water. This one was so close. Really, you can see the reflections and the water spouting. And here they are down by the lighthouse. So that's just one of my favorite things. That's just like a bonus. Thanks. So I just wanted to, if it's okay, conclude with Gila Raisel's song, at least the beginning. We'll do the first and last verses of it, because I feel like it became sort of a theme song for us, right? Here we go. Okay. We'll just do the beginning and the end of it. Listen to the waves as they rock and roll. Gentle rhythm soothes our soul. Yiram hayam umlo. Shabbat rolls in along with the tide. Our spirit soars along for the ride. Yiram hayam umlo. Whoa, 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 Yiram hayam umlo. And the last verse. Surf echoes with a deepening roar. Our hearts find peace upon God's shore. Yiram hayam umlo. Through time and space your glory shines as life sifts through the sands of time. Yiram hayam umlo. Whoa, 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 Yiram hayam umlo. So may your heart be filled with song like the sea. May you explore your own depths. May you dare to go to the edge and maybe even beyond the edge. And may we all find wonderful meaning of the seashore and be good stewards of our planet Earth and do a reverse tashlich. So thank you for being here today. Thank you. And I'm going to just stop the recording right now. Thanks.